Never mind. Let's just do this.
All right. Are you mad at
Let's
me?
get it over. No, I'm just mad at the world. Okay.
Okay, I get it. All right. Stand by. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show, where we'll be talking about winter weather advisories, winter storm watches, and all sorts of weird things that have been going on. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. They've got, well, if things play out according to plan, you might need some salt, some sand, and some Pelledo, and some calcium deicer. Or if you're still thinking about spring, you can get your orders in for mulch, topsoil, gravel, or whatever else you need to make your yard look great this coming spring season. 631-756-1125, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, serving the entire tri-state area with the lowest prices in town. And the website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
Hi. So apparently, let me apologize right off the bat because we had a power outage here over this morning early. When I woke up, there was no power, and it was area wide. First thing I noticed was, Joe, I couldn't get anything on my phone, using my straight connection on my telephone with Verizon. So the first thing that came to my mind was whether the world came to an end, and I didn't know it. But once that passed, that idea passed, and the lights came back on. So apparently, something's going on at the reservoir that they use to generate electricity around here. I don't know. Somebody shut off the faucet at the waterfall or something. I'm not sure. Maybe Billy
Well,
Joe.
you should call. Yeah, you should call Sam Drucker then, I guess,
Yeah. Well,
because he's on.
Well, look what I got at Drucker's
Or
Drugs
if it's not,
at Drucker's General
and
Store.
and
I got my
and if it's not
lantern.
Sam Drucker, you get I got C to help you out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh well. Okay, so you know what? Without further delay, do you have your snowfall forecast map handy?
um, not handy. I can get it if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, no, I would like to
Um,
see it because I haven't shown you mine, and I saw yours when you that you posted on Facebook. So Tom Contino can relax now because he's been itching for snowfall forecast maps. And by the way, let me
okay.
just emphasize to those of you that are in the coastal areas in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area, if it changes over a little bit faster, this thing is going like a rocket ship. So it'll be the difference between a coating to an inch to say a coating to couple of inches. I can't really see this evolving into much more than that because there's just no time. The thing is running like a rocket ship. So anyhow, Joe did his forecast map today, and we never
I'm just
we
getting.
don't usually speak very much during the daytime. We certainly don't talk about forecasts. This way, none of us are biased. So he does his thing, I do my thing. And this, are you ready to go?
I think so. Hold on, and there you are.
Okay.
You should be able to see it now. Or if not, wait a minute. Let me just make this a tad smaller. There you go. So that I believe is that 1 to 2 inches. I said for the city, maybe northern sections of Nassau County on up into the midsection of Connecticut. As you go a little to the north and west, let's say north of 287, 2 to 4 inches. Generally speaking, I know that I-84 is not exactly along this line, but if you go north of 84, you should be picking up even more. I think 4 to 6 is the best bet. And now, as you get deeper into the interior of New York State, 6 to 8, that includes you, Timothy Veltman, in the Albany area. and on up toward Binghamton and Oneonta and Syracuse and Central New York, you go for broke anywhere from 8 to maybe in some cases 12, or I wouldn't even I wouldn't even doubt 14 or 16 inches is not out of the question over the midsection, over the central region of New York State. And as you mentioned, Joe, for coastal locations, for most of Long Island, I see not much more than maybe a slush coating. And even for New York City, you may want to put more of an emphasis on the 1 than the 2. But there you go. That's it. And somebody asked before on my Facebook page, is this going to be like yesterday's storm? In other words, only the colder surfaces are going to get accumulations. I don't really think that's going to be the story this go around, because yesterday, for much, if not most of the storm, the temperatures for most everybody was at or above freezing. And so you lost a lot of it on the paved surfaces. This time around, I can see temperatures just falling. Once we make that transition to all snow, temperatures are just going to continue to fall, and that's going to allow it to stick more readily to most surfaces. And that's why on Saturday, it looks like it's going to be more of a snow situation, even on paved surfaces, as opposed to what we had yesterday.
And I would just add that one of the keys to the areas to the south and east with regards to snow amounts will be because this could be a situation where the cold air comes in faster than modeled, with a deepening low to just offshore, according to most of the models now, and particularly the European, which is even further out offshore. So if the low winds up intensifying a little as advertised, or maybe even a little bit faster, you can see the cold air come in and the temperatures drop faster. So that's going to be one of the variables here that I think we're not going to know until Saturday morning how that's going to play. But
Well, I said, I said that for anybody who's going to be out and about on Saturday, I said that I thought the morning was going to be primarily rain, and I went for a gradual changeover from rain over to snow during the early to mid afternoon. In other words, if around noon or 1 o'clock you start seeing the snow mixing in with the rain, okay, here we go. We start the transition, but we may not be fully over to all snow, I think, until maybe 3 or 4 o'clock. So, and then we'll start seeing the snow coming down. And I think, Joe, that by about 4 or 5 o'clock, it will be snow. It could very well be moderate snow and snowing with some intensity. I think that's when we're really going to put the accumulations down,
right.
will be from about 3 or 4 in the afternoon into the first part of Saturday night. And then everything should be over and done with by late Saturday evening, followed by colder weather indeed to follow. And don't forget to set your clock ahead 1 hour before you go to bed on Saturday night. And I guess all of us will, or at least some of us will, be out and about first thing on Sunday morning with the snow shovels, the snow blowers, and whatever,
And the
to
wind
get rid of whatever.
and the wind is going to be
And the
blowing
wind.
it all around.
Oh,
The
yeah.
thing about Saturday night is you're going to have temperatures falling through the 20s and eventually finding their way in the teens. And then you're going to have wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles an hour in some places. That's going to blow the snow around and restrict visibilities, even though the skies will be clear and the snow will cut off. So time frame. Now you put up your map. So let me now get mine, because I saw your map and I I laughed, but not in
Yeah.
I laughed in a positive way. Okay,
Well,
let
I
me
mean, you said, on, or you sent me a message saying, says, wait till you see what I went for.
right.
And I said, well, either he went for hardly anything, or he went big time and went like double of what I went for. I don't
No,
know. It's
no, I didn't go I didn't go big time. But if you I'm putting the map up now, so when the delay is done, you'll see, Joe. It's about as identical as you can get. The only difference is I went for 4 to 6 inches as the big amount because of the speed of this in upstate New York. But I agree with you. There might be some 8 inch plus amounts further west. I'll wait till uh, tomorrow night or early Saturday morning to kind of fix that up there if it winds up looking like it's going to be more. But our maps are virtually. I mean, look at this. I mean, we didn't talk, we didn't speak, and our maps are virtually identical. I
Well,
got
how could I have contacted you anyway when I was doing this, because you were probably having power problems.
no,
Okay, on one of a day, and 1 to 2, 2 to 4. Yeah, then look at that. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's almost identical. I
pretty
mean, you
good.
tend to use curvy lines, and I tend to use straight lines. But the bottom line is, we're both very, very close. And again, the areas in the south and east, if it changes over a little faster, which is certainly possible in a situation like this, um, I would think the best case scenario for snow lovers would be that the 1 inch line gets pulled down to the trace line, the 2 inch line gets pulled down, and then the 4 inch line will get pulled down. And hold on, let me just turn this off. So just a reminder that everything seems to be working again. Hopefully, folks, if we disappear here, it's because I would have lost power again. So just bear that in mind. Let's um let's take a look at what WPC did today on their forecast. Up that map, I may have to do a refresh here. Let's see. There we go. Just took a little time. So we'll just get in there. Let me put the state boundaries on. So this is the probability for at least an inch, and they updated this at 4:30 this afternoon. And they pulled down further south and east the probability of at least an inch. Now the 40% line was just north and west of was just right over New York City. Now that's been pulled down to central New Jersey, and also over parts of eastern Long Island, except the extreme east. And the 50 to 60 is now into Long Island, New York City, south and west toward Trenton and Philadelphia. And of course, you see how the numbers go up as you go to the north. So I'll switch over now. Let's go to the probability for at least two. And we'll wait for this to load up. There it is. Let me get the state boundaries. Have to turn them off and turn them on again. And you guys got it there on the screen, so you see it nicely. And they kind of nudged the probability of at least two a little bit further south and east, down to just west of New York City. The dark green is 20 to I'm sorry, the darkest green is 30 to 40. So that's just touching New York City, and 40 to 50 is just north and west of there, just north and west of Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington. And you see the big amounts there up to the north. The probability of at least four, that you have to go further inland, but they have 50% or higher probabilities into the northwestern corner of New Jersey and into much of northeast and north central Pennsylvania at 50% or higher, and of course the bigger amounts to the north. And we can go to the probability of at least 8. Let's do that. We'll go to the probability of at least 8. So they had a few pockets of this. Yep, there it is. So there's your
I love how
probabilities.
deep that red is.
Yes.
That bloody red that really stands out.
Yes.
And yeah,
And
yeah. So it looks like yeah.
no, there's your probability of at least 8 with the 50% in northeastern PA going up through upstate New York, in north central and into northeastern New York and into Vermont and northern New Hampshire.
Yes, sir. Well, um, if this does nothing else than for all of you skiers out there, remember all those ski reports we had to do on FiOS One, Joe?
Oh,
And we just love
oh,
doing the ski reports.
oh
But
God.
anyway,
I forgot
if
about
you're a
those.
skier, yeah, if you're a skier, ski your legs off, because it looks like everybody who are ski buffs are going to have a big smile on their face by the end of this weekend, because the ski areas up north are really going to get their fair share of the white stuff this weekend.
And this is the new European. This is the 18Z European. There's some kind of lead wave. First of all, there's a wave that's well off the south, off the Carolina coast now, and that's all the clouds that were there to the south earlier today. And there's a weak little lead wave that the models have picked up on for early Saturday morning, and that disappears because the main low is in south central Georgia. There's no L there, but there's a closed isobar at 1 a.m. on Saturday. And by the way, the models are giving me 2 or 3 inches out of this, and they've got winter storm warnings up starting 17 miles away from me on the North Carolina side. And there's your surface low, Joe. Northeastern North Carolina, by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's a 983 low at 39 and 39.4 and 71.6. And then it's a 977 low at 4 p.m. at 41.8 and about 69.1. So I mean, it actually on the European, which has been really kind of beelining this whole idea of taking this low to 40 and 70, it's going to 40 and 70 on this run, right to the benchmark, and then goes out. But
Right,
again,
right.
again, the problem is that it's moving so quickly. So you got to get the changeover. I'm trying to see where the 540 thickness is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The 46 thickness is at New York City. At 4 o'clock, the 40 thickness is in central Long Island, 34 at the city, 28 up in northwest Jersey. So the European would argue that the changeover takes place from north very quickly from northwest to southeast, uh, say between noon and 2 or 3 o'clock. And then, of course, it starts to pull away. This is at 7 o'clock at night. And then, of course, after that, we're left with that fabulous tight gradient. Although it looks like because the low is tracking further east now that the gradient actually begins to pull out, begins to ease a little bit by Sunday morning, but it's still kind of windy going into Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I think Sunday will be very windy. I think actually we'll be looking at the strongest winds sometime between 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, all the way through Saturday night, and not abating until sometime during the early part of the day on Sunday. But even when I say abating, I'm not talking about completely shutting down very rapidly. There'll still be some strong and gusty winds right on through much of the day on Sunday as well. So get ready for a windy, much colder weekend coming up, and watch for the changeover. Again, you may start your day on Saturday. One thing that may preclude, um, to a degree, the significant amount of a significant snow cover, at least on paved surfaces, is with the rain that will be falling Friday night into the first part of Saturday, and then you got the changeover to snow, and that snow will be falling on that wet ground. So that may actually stave off any kind of accumulation on paved surfaces for a while. But as I said, by the time we get to later in the day on Saturday, everybody will be falling well down through the well below freezing, and that should begin the process of seeing accumulations again, even on paved surfaces. And when you wake up on Sunday morning, you'll look out the window and you'll say, well, should I or shouldn't I get rid of this now? And then you'll be listening to the howling winds and say, I think I'll wait a little bit longer before
Yeah.
heading outside.
By the way, go ahead.
Nothing's going to beat that. Nothing's going to beat that. Nothing's going to beat that day, that Saturday, about a month and a half ago, when I had to go outside to clear the snow and it was like 9 degrees outside. You haven't lived until you tried to clear even a few inches. I only had 4 inches to clear, and I had a snowblower, but still doing it in 9-degree weather with a bit of a wind blowing. No, I don't think so. I don't want to do that again.
By the way, I'm looking at the 850, which the 850 level, which sometimes is a pretty in a case like this, it can be a pretty good indicator of when the changeover takes place and that it changes over faster. By 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Joe, the zero at 850 is southeast and southeast of New York City. All of New Jersey is below zero, and you're even colder than that. I mean, up by you're like at -3 or 4 maybe. Let me pull up a sounding here and take a look. Let's look at near or just to the north of New York City. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's 34, and except for no, in fact, everybody's below the levels are below freezing all the way down, except right near the ground at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's interesting. And
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
and let me take a look. Let me take a look up. You know what? No, I won't be able. I don't know if I can do it on the close-up map. Sometimes on the close-ups. Oh, sometimes on the close-ups No, you can't do the sounding on the close-up, so I have to do it on the slightly wider version here. So you want to do a little F-Gen?
I looked at the FGen, and yeah, we could check that out. Hang
Okay,
on for a
you
moment
go
while
ahead.
I.
You set that up. I'm just gonna keep going on this 850 here. So I'm pulling up by your house, Joe. You're 31 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the European.
Right.
So if the European is correct, you're snowing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
And let's go to 4 o'clock. So at 4 o'clock in New York City, let's see. So at 4 o'clock in New York City, the ground temperature is 29. The 850 temperature there is, what is that? About -5, or minus just a little bit less than -5 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I try not to go too far north here. And you are at 26, and
I was 26 once.
we all were. Um, the 850 temperature by you is a little less than minus. It's like maybe like -6-ish. Interestingly enough, and let's go to 7 o'clock at night on Sunday. That will be 8 o'clock at night for 0Z. Trying to get this mouse to behave itself. By the way, Joe Rayo monitoring the chat board for any questions you have, and any super chat hits. So he'll pass them along. And welcome to the YouTube channel if you are new. We appreciate you being here and apologize for the delay. Thanks to my power outage, but that's life. It happens. It happened twice today to me. 26 in New York City by 7 o'clock in the evening. Listen, if it falls and doesn't stick to the pavement and it's wet, it's going to freeze. With the temper, that stuff's
Yes.
going to freeze up. So
And that's even worse.
Saturday,
And that's even worse.
Saturday night is just going to be an absolute, it's not going to be fun to be driving around in this with falling temperatures and surfaces freezing up and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I'm looking here, Joe, and I have the FGen map up and ready to go if you want to take a look at it.
It's all yours.
Have
at it.
I'll show you first the 3 kilometer NAM. This is as of 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, and you see all the omega, all the energy is off basically to the west of us, and you say, well, if everything is moving rapidly to the east, that'll eventually will get to us. But the 3 kilometer NAM actually does something rather interesting. It takes that ribbon, if you will, of energy and kind of consolidates it, but keeps it basically to the north and west of New York City. This is now 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. That long, skinny zone of energy. Again, right over. I mean, my goodness, this zone right here from Port Jervis on north and west on up toward Albany, for example. You're right in the thick of things. That could mean by the time we get to, let's say, 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, this area right here could really be snowing to beat the bands if this verifies. But notice here in the immediate tri-state area, this all stays just outside of this energy zone. We get now to 7 o'clock, and now the whole thing seems to like leapfrog or lift up just to our north. So that's in accordance with what the 3 kilometer NAM is saying. Let me just back up now a bit, and we'll start again. By the way, there is some omega, let's say at 7 o'clock in the morning, but again, it seems to consolidate again on the 3 kilometer NAM to the north of us. Now let's take a look at the 12 kilometer NAM, and oh my goodness, look at all of that, Joe. This now is 7 a.m. again, just to the north of New York City. Now is this one nodule, if you will, of energy that lifts away to the north, and then again we see that all the activity stays, again, north and west of New York, all of the vigorous or robust activity. And this area, again, from just north and west of Port Jervis on up into Albany and Glens Falls and everything else. This, again, indicating that on Saturday afternoon, this whole region could be really seeing quite a bit in terms of intensity, moderate to maybe even heavy activity. Then that fires away to the north and west. And again, it seems, Joe, that all of the really hefty stuff. Now, one last look here on the global. We'll take a look at the GFS. This is the 18Z run. Look at that. Look at that stripe of energy now over central Pennsylvania, central New York, and northern New York State. And you say to yourself, okay, is that going to head eastward and move in our direction? Well, it's still north and west of New York City as of 1 o'clock. And then it kind of, again, lifts away up into central and northern New England and kind of misses us. So, Joe, at least from the standpoint of energy, from the standpoint of robust and heavy duty precipitation, it appears that, yeah, while New York City and the immediate tri-state area will likely see some precip and we'll see some snow, the really heavy activity is in that band, I would have to say, from south central Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania, the Poconos, on up just to the north and west of New Jersey, and on into the Albany, Glens Falls, Saranac Lake area. That whole region right over here, I would say, what, about 150 miles to the west and northwest of New York City and north of New York City, that is going to be the area where we're going to be looking at the heaviest and most, again, significant or most robust intensities, moderate, maybe even heavy, maybe even, I don't know if you, I know torrential rain. I never heard of torrential snow, but
Yeah.
if you want to talk about really heavy activity, it looks like New York will be out of it. And it looks like the places that are going to be in it, again, are generally west and north of New York by roughly 150 miles, 200 miles. That may also include Binghamton, for example, too, Oneonta. These are the areas that could really get hammered when we get to Saturday afternoon and Saturday night.
Yeah, but even down outside of that really dark blue zone as you go further south, that's not too shabby what's showing up down a little bit further to the south. I think it argues that there could be a burst of moderate to maybe even briefly heavy snow once we change over, and then as it starts to pull away, you'll start to see it gradually lighten up. But I was looking
Oh
at
yeah, and look also for the wind, which I really don't think will be amounting. I mean, it'll be a bit breezy on Saturday morning, but you will know when the cold air is beginning to flow in, and when that line begins to move past us to the east. You will know because that wind is going to jack up real fast. Up here where I live, we don't just see the wind and its effects on the trees. We hear the wind, and as soon as they start hearing those winds, and we're going to hear them come Saturday afternoon, sometime in that 1 to 4 o'clock time frame, depending upon where you are in the tri-state area. That's going to be when we're going to be talking about those winds in excess of 40 miles an hour inland, and probably much higher as you go down near the coast.
Yeah, I was just looking. The HRRR on tropical tidbits is not out far enough yet. It's only out to 31 hours, but I did just look at it in Pivotal. The whole run is out on there, and it does argue. The HRRR has handled some of the snow, not all of them, but some of the snow events this winter. It has handled fairly well. Others not so much. So you have to take it with a bit of a grain of salt. But it agrees with, it lines up with the European, Joe, in that argues for a faster changeover um, down near the coast by noon or 1 o'clock on Saturday. Now that could be because maybe it's moving the surface low a bit faster. I want to see it on tropical tidbits, see what it looks like, but it's only out to 31 hours. I'm also seeing that it's got me in some sleet and snow too. So yep, there it is. Yeah, only out to 34 hours, so that only takes us to 5 a.m. on Saturday. So we'll give that a moment to catch up, and then I'll bring it up on the screen. So uh, let's look at what's going on this evening. And again, this is my snow map, which we saw earlier. So I'm trying to keep the amount of windows down so we don't get any buffering, given everything that's been going on. So we do have winter storm watches up for much of the northern half of Maine, northern New Hampshire, just about all, looks like all of Vermont, most of upstate New York, and down into northeastern PA, right along the Pennsylvania, the counties that border New York State, and western PA into West Virginia, into Ohio, also eastern Kentucky, southwestern Virginia, western North Carolina under winter storm warnings, and that comes down to the Georgia state line. Now, I'm only 17 miles from the Georgia state line, so I can almost touch that winter storm watch there. Winter weather advisories, a number of them from western Kentucky and the rest of Tennessee, because the eastern part of the state's under a winter storm watch. Northern Alabama, I think it's Jess Harden who watches from northern Alabama sometimes, but I haven't seen him. Northern Mississippi, back to Arkansas, just about all of Arkansas, most of Missouri, western Illinois, Oklahoma, North Texas, northwest Texas, back over into New Mexico and southern Colorado, where we have a few winter storm warnings up, and also the much of the northern half of Arizona. And tomorrow, I'm thinking you're not going to see them put this up probably until tomorrow, not tomorrow evening. But I'm thinking you're going to probably see winter weather advisories going up. I think you may even see them in areas that'll get an inch or less, Joe, because they're probably going to talk about the fact that whatever falls is going to freeze as the temperatures go below freezing and take us into Saturday night, which is going to make things very slippery. So I'm thinking that they may wind up putting winter weather advisories up for the coastal counties as well as the inland counties.
Okay, yeah, that would make some sense. Yeah, yeah, sure.
It's a guess on
I would
my
go for
part.
that.
And let's take a look at the radar tonight and see what's happening. It is 8:39 Eastern Time, and you'll see here you've got snow already breaking out from Kansas through central Missouri, just north of St. Louis, through central Illinois, and reaching up to about Chicago, going back south and west into southern Kansas and into New Mexico and southeastern Colorado. We also had some showers and thunderstorms earlier today in north central Florida. That's where SPC had its risk, and I want to give that a little bit of time here. Let's take a look at what SPC is doing with all of this as far as severe weather is concerned. So now they have taken out the slight risk for today. They have an enhanced risk now for tomorrow. I'm in the southeastern part of the U.S. Well, actually, southwestern Georgia into the Florida Panhandle, not the western part of the Florida Panhandle, but further to the east. An enhanced risk, slight risk pushing up into right just outside the North Carolina border. Much of Georgia, I'm not in on the marginal risk. I'm just outside the marginal risk, and that extends down into southeast Louisiana. And then come Saturday, they've got the marginal risk to just touching southern Delaware, and the slight risk reaching up into southeastern Virginia, running down the coast and just inland of the coast, all the way down into Florida, into northern and central Florida, at a slight risk for severe weather on Saturday. So that pretty well, I think, covers everything from that respect. Let me see how far the HRRR
I
is
would have thought,
out.
if you remember, yeah, if you remember yesterday, I said that I would have thought that they would have, it's still a chance. I would have thought that they would have placed the New York area in marginal risk for thunderstorm activity, and there's still a chance that that could happen. If not, maybe tomorrow, maybe on the actual day of, on Saturday. So we'll see how that all pans out.
Yeah, the HRRR is out to Saturday morning at 9 a.m. It's already changed over in northwest New Jersey, and it's already changed over by you on the HRRR. But I think that's a function of the fact that the low looks to be a little bit faster here. There's a 991 low just southeast of Atlantic City, and moving pretty quickly here. If you watch it track, this is at 2 a.m. Where it's down in Georgia, and in 8 hours, it's less than 8 hours. It's racing up. It's already southeast of Atlantic City and moving quickly on up to the northeast. So pretty interesting. And the other thing I wanted to look at, what was the other thing? Oh, you know what? Let's bring up Les Plumes, see what they're up to.
Le
Les
plumes.
Plumes!
I think you'll find that the plumes are a little bit slower than some of the other models. I think
Yeah, the
they're
European is slower, and and some of the other globals have slowed down a little bit. Yeah, the short range models seem to be faster here. Okay, so what did I? This is Oklahoma City, so I gotta where they get what is that? An inch. Let's zoom. Let's get this area. Usually the thing with the plumes, folks, that we use, and this is the SREF model out of Stony Brook, it's not what it gives, it's usually which way is it going? Is it going higher or lower? So it gives just under 2 inches in New York City. And at islip, what do we got in islip? A little over an inch in islip. White Plains, just under 2. Now, if New York City gets just under 2, you would think White Plains would get a little more. Poughkeepsie,
Poughkeepsie.
right, Poughkeepsie 4.2, and we'll go up closer up in Sullivan County in Monticello. Monticello gets 6 for Monticello.
Okay, now we're starting to see the heavy duty stuff. How about Albany?
How about Albany? One moment, please. Please.
If you remember with Albany, I had Albany in the 6 to 8 category. So if it comes up to less than 6, I'm going to get very, very upset.
7.63 for Albany.
There you go.
Which makes sense. And let's take a look
Yes.
at Boston. Let's see what they. Boston gets 1.25.
Does anybody know what Northwest Connecticut got in terms of snow yesterday?
That
I think Northwest Connecticut Northwest Connecticut was in the Albany
yeah,
forecast zone, right?
I don't know. That I don't know. So the SREF. Let me just make sure this is the 21Z, and it's the 21Z. So we'll watch to see what it does tomorrow. That'll be the more critical time with the SREF model to see which way is it going. Is it pushing numbers higher or lower? Higher, 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 lower, lower. We could play prices right. So, yeah, how you that the power outage just threw me for a loop today. I sat down here, Joe. It was 7:25, okay, which I sit down usually about 7:25. I turn on my headsets. I make sure that everything is done technically, and all of a sudden the lights just went out. And so I quickly
And
tried to put it on my hotspot, and then we'd be able to go on, but I'd be sitting in the dark. But I'd have a working
yeah,
computer because it's on battery. And since it was area wide, like it was this morning, that took down the cell towers. So you would think that they would be on some kind of generator, but I guess not. Well, at least enough that I was able to text and probably make phone calls, but I didn't have any internet access. So I was able
if
to
you go
talk to
on
you that way.
if you go on YouTube, you can see that during the Great Blackout of 1965, one of the great, or actually a legendary newsman, Frank McGee from NBC News, was actually talking to everybody nationwide by candlelight. He actually had a candle sitting on the desk, and they were using, I guess, emergency generator power to work the camera. But he actually was in the dark with a candle next to him, and that's how he was talking to us, that night on television. For those people who could watch television, the one thing that's that our society, and this is why I say sometimes I think we're going backwards, not forwards. We're all going backwards. Most people right now, if you wanted to watch television, or if you have television, either by cable or by dish, you get your signals in that way. If there's a power blackout, you can't watch anything. They nothing that's happening. You can't watch your cable. You can't use your dish because you're just simply not being able to watch television. But back in the day when we had those kind of power blackouts in 65 and in 77 and even as recently as 2003, if you were out of power, but if you had, let's say, a TV that worked off of battery power, for example, you just pulled up the aerial, you could watch TV. You didn't have power, but you still could watch TV. Can't do that anymore. That's impossible. You can't do that because, again, everything is either by dish or by cable, whatever. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand the mentality of, oh boy, we've got all of this and that, because it's like putting all of your eggs in one basket. And when one thing goes down, and that's why a lot of people are concerned about the possibility of, somebody fiddling around with the grid, the electrical grid. All you need is a few of those to go down, and that's it. Everything is out.
Yep.
So,
well,
and we think we're smart with our technology the way we're doing it now.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
For 99% of the time, it works. So 99.9% of the time. By the way, Litchfield County, Winstead got 5, Torrington 4, Canaan, Connecticut 3.8, and Norfolk, Connecticut 3.8. Meanwhile, I'm looking at some of these numbers up. A lot of 4 and 5 inch amounts in Albany County, and also 3 miles north of Austerlitz in Columbia County got 5.8. Dutchess, Poughkeepsie, because I was wondering about this yesterday, 4.5. Millbrook 4.5. Hopewell Junction 3.5. So that makes sense. And thank you, Timothy Veltman, for putting the link up on the chat board for that. And also, I see there's a Georgia person here, Marcio Brown, saying Cobb County. Will Cobb County in Georgia see some snow? I wouldn't be surprised if you see at least some snow flurries on the southern end of it. I think it's going to be more north and west of where you are. So that includes me. I'm kind of on the edge because you can almost walk on some of these snow maps that are being put up by the models. The line from a coating to half a foot is a very, very short distance. It's a handful of miles. It's very, very tight. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it'll be just a little bit further south and east and a little bit colder, a little bit faster for me, so I could see maybe a couple of inches. Because this way, when my grandsons come on Sunday morning, they'll have some snow to play in. Which
have they ever saw
nice.
Snow?
Have
they ever seen snow?
My older grandson saw snow a year, was it last year, I think, or 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago in Atlanta. And I think no, they were away for this last one. Yeah, the HRRR is out to 48 hours, and I'll just show you what it has. So it's got the low east of Boston, so it's much faster, which I guess which accounts for the fact that the changeover on it is faster. But it's got this, if you look on the map, the arm on the back side is swinging in. But the thing is the low starts to lift up to the northeast, that arm is going to start to weaken as we go through the afternoon. So that's the other part of this, is the fact that you'll have to see how long that holds on with respect to the snow on the backside. But the faster motion could mean, it changes over faster, but it also might wind up meaning that it ends faster. You want it to change over and end it at change over sooner, but at the same time, you don't want it to end sooner. If your goal out of all of this is to get more snow, I'm just gonna look off camera here, off the screen, because I still haven't heard from the Pivotal people. We love you. We love Pivotal weather. We love the graphics. But if you could please just answer me that I could use them, it would be great. Thank you.
And if you're a paying customer,
and I'm a paying customer,
I can understand it. I can understand if I made that comment or if I made the request and they'd say something to the effect like, "Well, you're not even a subscriber. Why should we bother, even commenting on what you're saying or whatever?" But you're paying out, Joe. You deserve
Yeah.
at least some service from at least a little
Well,
a response at
well,
least.
they have some rules on there regarding whether you share the stuff or not, but they're very vague. So all I want is a simple yes or no answer. Just tell me yes or no. I'm sitting there trying to figure out, well, does this mean I can or I can't? Um, yeah, I'm looking at the European, which still has snow just ending in New York City, probably around say 5 p.m. or so, 5 or 6 p.m. and still snowing on Long Island at that point at 6 p.m. But then sometime right after 7 p.m. it's all done. And at this point, I just want to at least let me pull up, see what the temperature is at 10 o'clock, just to argue about conditions afterward, because as I said, everything is just going to wind up freezing up anyway. 24 is the temperature at 10 o'clock in New York City on the sounding. So that's cold. And how about by 1 a.m., which will be 2 a.m., as we go through that sickness that we call daylight saving time. And at 2 a.m., by the way, um, it might be nice that you get the likes up to over 100 while I'm doing this. Thank you. 21, 21 at 2 a.m. So it's definitely even if you don't wind up getting too much snow, it's gonna get very very slick and very very windy. Zim, you were asking about Washington D.C. and let me just take a quick look for you. Hang on 1 second here.
And Joe, if you got a chance, throw it back to me, throw the screen back to me or whatever, because I told you about Frank McGee during the blackout, and lo and behold, the internet has everything. I found a picture,
Yeah, your screen is up. It's
inglorious
there.
black and
It's there.
inglorious black and white. This is Frank McGee of NBC News reporting during the 1965 great blackout that hit the Northeast. And on the right hand side, that is the candle. That is the candle that he was using to light up his part of the studio so that they were able to do a report, not in total darkness. Here's his microphone, here's Frank, and here's the candle. So, and like I said, if you go on YouTube and if you type in Frank McGee 1965 blackout, or 1965 blackout NBC or whatever, you'll come to the YouTube showing you Frank McGee doing his report using candlelight in 65. That's one of those great moments in television which nobody ever talks about until it actually happens. I can assure you that the next time we have a major blackout, that will come on, will come about in terms of people saying, remember when? Well, here it is, Frank McGee, formerly a host of the Today Show and on NBC Radio, and he was a remarkable reporter and news anchor. Unfortunately, he passed away much too young back in the early 70s, I think 1974. But he was great, and there he was. He was right. I think at NBC, if you were to list the major news people there, they would have been Chet Huntley, David Brinkley, and probably right behind those two was Frank McGee. And then Frank McGee was right ahead of John Chancellor. Those were great newsmen who we grew up with back in the 60s. And I really wish we had people like that doing the news today. Anyway,
Yeah, that doesn't. They
there's
don't
the picture
exist.
and there's your editorial
Those
comment.
people don't
No,
exist anymore. Zim, just for you,
nope,
just to
they
let you
don't.
know, at least if the European is correct, uh, giving close to 3 inches in Washington D.C. and just under 3 in Baltimore, just under 3 in Laurel, Germantown 3.8 to the northwest, Waldorf to the southeast 2.8, Fredericksburg 2.8, Annapolis 2.6. And yeah, so I mean, I certainly if they want to say that that's maybe a little overdone, but you still could wind up with at least an inch or two, or maybe an inch or three, as Joe Rayo likes to put it. So,
Yes.
all right, look, we got a late start tonight, which means we're coming up on the 9 o'clock hour, and we'll save Briller Jeopardy for tomorrow night, where we will be on tomorrow night. Electricity, if I have my electricity. We'll be on tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern Time. So again, thanks everybody for your patience regarding the late start. Usually we start at 7:30, but because of my issue, we didn't get on till 8 o'clock. And we did get over 100 likes, so I'm a happy camper.
Yes, we did. 106, pretty good. Just think how many we would have had if we were on at 7:30.
Well,
sorry, Joe.
Thank you. Since I always promote the show every night on Facebook and Twitter and so on with a 7:30 start. Yeah, I know. Okay, so we'll call it a night. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern Time. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Da, 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 da.